Okay, everyone. Welcome, everyone, tonight to our Dharma Sharing Wednesday nights. If you're new, I invite you just say hello in the chat box as well. If you're new, just to see who's new. We don't care about the old ones. Yeah. Um, okay. Some people, some first timers here. As we like to tell first timers, we just ask you not to expect too much from from anything. Good, some more people. So welcome everyone. Welcome into the space tonight. Awesome. Yeah. So thank you everyone for being here tonight. Um, this has definitely been a very long week for many of us. I know it's been well, a long year for as well, but definitely this past week with George Floyd's trial and just the continued shootings and and then just still being still just like still we're still in the pandemic. We're still semi quarantined. And so we're still dealing with this, as I've said, many times before, I've been saying it, I think literally every teaching for the past years that like we're moving through tremendous grief and trauma right now. And this grief and the trauma, there's the trauma, right, and then there's the grief that is, that is a reaction to the trauma, right? Because trauma, really in many ways is a loss of something. It's a loss of agency, self agency, self power, right? We feel very victimized by trauma. We feel a loss of consents and agency with trauma. So we're having to grieve that, not just the trauma, but the grief of having lost what I would say and call the old world, the old way of being. And at least for me, I'll just speak of my experience. I've definitely been really struggling and really feeling a lot of the trauma and the grief personally for me. Um, I've taken just a lot of time off of social media as well, partially because I was hacked on Instagram, which that hacking revealed how much I disliked social media to begin with. So that wasn't so much a bad thing. According to other people, it was bad, but for me, I was like, great. So often, social media becomes this unregulated space where people are just like emoting a level of emotional energy that's really hard to hold space for, right? Just not just the trauma, the sorrow, the sadness, but the rage, the unkindness, the meanness, the impatience, all of that just kind of gets emoted into this electronic space in which we go on and we start absorbing it vicariously. And so I've had to create boundaries to disrupt that. But again, with me, my practice these days is really taking a lot of time, taking a lot of space, slowing down, not teaching as much. Part of the functional trauma that I've been noticing from a lot of folks is that people tend to want to get really busy and active instead of like slowing down, and tending to ourselves and caring for ourselves. The busyness is how we try to outlive the impact of the trauma. So I don't know if anyone has seen that. I've definitely seen people just really wanting to meet more and organize this. I'm getting emails about, me signing up, and agreeing to, to teach for, different programs and events like 2 years down the road. You know, I get a year from now, but now I'm getting requests from 2 years, into 2023, and I just kind of look at this stuff and I'm like, I'm just trying to survive right now, right? I'm trying to like wake up every morning and summon the practices and the resources that I need to be well, and I have to actively do that, you know. And so everyone's like really like spinning and buzzing and just like making all these plans, you know. You can't organize the apocalypse. You can't organize the apocalypse. The apocalypse, if you attempt to organize it, will start to organize you. Right? The practice in being in relationship to the apocalypse is that we allow the apocalypse to unfold. We allow it because the apocalypse isn't trying to. It's not trying to hurt us. It's not trying to punish us. Punish us. It's not. It's not the end of the world necessarily. I think there is an end of certain worlds, but this main reality continues. It's going to take way more than this, to disrupt, the world system from continuing. But anyway, I don't want to get into that because before you know it, I'll be talking about the Matrix. But anyhow, yeah, this is going to be a really odd thing to hear. But listen, if you know me, some of you have been with me for years. You're already used to it. So I'm just going to say this: the apocalypse is actually trying to love us. It's trying to love us. It's trying to actually get us free, right? And of course, this is a direct Mahamudra teaching, right? Before people start talking about how Lama Rod's making up shit, this is directly from the Mahamudra teachings that says that phenomenal reality is trying to liberate us, right? And that we are being called to understand that phenomenal reality is always pointing back to its essential nature, which is emptiness, openness, space, right? That's the liberation we're trying to embody, is that space. We're trying to consent to allowing the space to be. That's what I mean by freedom and liberation. When I talk about the apocalypse is another expression of phenomenal reality. And it's trying to get us free. And particularly, the apocalypse is showing us what the work is. It's unveiling everything that needs to be done. Our struggle is trying to be in relationship to the truth that the apocalypse is unveiling. That's important for us to understand. Like we're being offered the work, and are we going to choose to do the work? Are we going to choose to be in the struggle? I know a lot of folks are, trying to be post-struggle, right? And this post-struggle, it's like, well, I don't want to struggle. I just want to be. That's great. I struggle, so I can't. I'm not post-struggle. I'm in the struggle. I think the struggle is important, because that's where the Dharma is embodied, is in the struggle. You know, the struggle, the basic struggle that we have to be in relationship to what's being revealed. and the apocalypse, the unveiling, the unraveling, which again for me is the great loving of the apocalypse. It shows us. We have to choose to show up to that truth. When we choose to show up to the truth, we choose to engage in the struggle to embody that truth, to do the work of liberation, right? And what you have to know too, when I talk about liberation, I'm talking about the liberation of phenomenal reality, the liberation of both the living and the dead, all beings, right? Not just here in this moment, in this time, in my community, on my street, or whatever. I'm talking about the greatest aspiration of the Bodhisattva, the spiritual warrior within Buddhism, right, is to liberate all phenomena, not just the people we love and like, not just our favorite celebrities, not our kids, but everyone, every being, both the living and the dead, both embodied and disembodied, right? In all the worlds, all the times, all the places, and all phenomena must be liberated, right? It must be freed from the violence of, well, it's freed from the violence of the illusion of permanence, right? We have to free it from permanence and allow it to be impermanent. Everything must be changing, shifting, evolving, and we must enter into that stream ourselves. The Bodhisattva enters themselves into the stream of impermanence, and in doing so, there is a perpetual movement, a perpetual dance, a perpetual change. But there's no settling, but there's this perpetual discomfort that is held by this gracious experience of space. And it's the space that we're interested in. Without the space, we can't hold the struggle. The struggle will become just a perpetuation of suffering, right? If we don't recognize that there's always space holding everything. That space, again, is the expression of the mother. Right? The expression of space is the mother. And when we start leaning into the space or start recognizing the space that's always present, we start communicating with this divine, cosmic, loving consciousness. And it's not a comfortable thing initially for those of you who are new to the practice of the mother. And it's the same as the practice of medicine Buddha for those of us who do that. It's when we enter into space, we're being the space getting spacious, or experiencing the space means that we begin to experience everything, right? Both the comfort and the discomfort. So everything becomes material for us to consume through the practice of experience. I just, it's impossible. I mean, well, I don't know. I was just saying impossible. It may be possible, but from right now, I think it's really hard. I would say it's really hard to survive without a deep practice right now. When you look at the material, the material phenomenal world around us, and if you say, "Oh, well, this is it," there's nothing else, or maybe there's something else, but I don't understand that, I don't get that. If you don't have a paradigm that introduces you into the and permanent, non-linear expression of material phenomenal reality, then your suffering is going to be quite intense. Because phenomenal reality will become, well, like a prison cell. It becomes something that's impenetrable, hard. It becomes, it's like being in a cage, which we understand samsara to be a cage. If you don't have a practice that's helping us to develop insight into the nature of the phenomenal material world, then your suffering is going to be at its peak. And that's a position that's going to seem hopeless. It's going to seem fatalistic. This is going to be uncreative. It's hard to shape the conditions of our living and our lives and our world if we don't believe that the that the essence of phenomena is itself shapeable, fluid, impermanent, shifting. If you don't believe that, then what you see, you just believe that's what you get and you can't change it. It's a hard place to be. And I've been there a little bit too. I've been my whole life. I've always believed and intuitively felt that there was something else happening in the world, in terms of material. In terms of phenomena, I always felt like there was something beneath the surface of phenomenal reality that was quite profound. I just didn't have the tools to do that until I came into Dharma. Of course, those tools were related to the mind, to training the mind, and using the awareness, the natural quality of awareness of the mind to pierce into the nature of reality. That piercing means that we begin to see the evidence, experience and embody the evidence that indeed the world is malleable, it's shapeable, it's fluid, right? That karma, we talk about karma, which is, karma is such a very difficult thing to talk about because we're so we misunderstand karma quite a bit. Well, particularly here in Western countries, right? Western countries and Western Dharma, we tend to overlay our fatalistic understanding of right and wrong over this profound, expansive doctrine of karma. And that gets us into a lot of trouble because karma isn't this fixed thing. When we talk about karma, 2 plus 2 doesn't always equal 4, right? There's a extreme complexity to the workings of karma that requires us. It calls us to be attentive to the non-linear, expansive nature of reality itself. That non-linear reality or non-linear phenomena isn't restricted to a formula. That if I do this, that's going to happen. Karma, like anything and everything in phenomenal reality, is malleable, is shapeable. that we can influence the expression of karma. You know, we also have to be really aware in terms of karma that I think we get really confused and to say that certain things that happen, to us in this life, are, well, we say that what shouldn't happen, right? No one deserves to die, for instance, as an example. But what we have to understand about karma, too, is that this isn't our home. Like, this is, samsara isn't where we belong, you know. And so death actually becomes this amazing opportunity to transcend the cycle of birth and rebirth, or the non consensual cycle of birth and rebirth that many of us are engaged in. Granted, some of us have achieved a level of awakening. We would call that the boomies, right? So when you get to the levels, like 10 booms. Again, so it's hard to talk about like talk about the boomies, so Bhumisparsha, right? It's the same root. Bhumi means level or earth or surface. I think Bhumi. Anyhow, after like be very careful not to get so deep into the stuff. So I started pulling in etymology. Is it etymology? That gets really confused. Anyhow, scrap all of that. Scrap the last 10 seconds of that. What I'm trying to say is going back to the boomies. The boomies are these levels of enlightenment and awakening that we can achieve. And once you get to the first boomie, this level of awakening, then you freed yourself from the cycle of what really is just being born into samsara, right? And then that's just that levels where we begin to enter into our bodhisattvahood, and that bodhisattva with a capital B. So the rest of us are like lowercase b bodhisattvas, but we enter into like the awakened expression of the bodhisattva path. And then that's when we begin to have this agency over our minds. And then we begin to take on forms and emanate back into samsara. Hashtag matrix. Just pointing that. I'm not going to get into the matrix tonight, but I think the matrix does a fair job of demonstrating what that means, what that can look like. And you get freed, right, from the program, and then you can choose to go back and come in and out of the program at will to help people, to free others and get them out. So, but yeah, so getting to the boomies, right? You have you have a consent now. You can consent, to enter back into the realm of samsara to help people. And that's what we're trying to get to, right? But what I was trying to say earlier in terms of booming and all of this, what I was trying to convey was that, again, like this kind of organization, this kind of levels that we think about. There are 10 bodhisattva levels. You get to the 10th, and then after the 10th, you're completely enlightened, right? It's not so cut and dry as you think it is. It's just a helpful way for us within this realm to understand the progression through enlightenment into awakening. So but again, once we get to this first level of awakening, then we awaken. And well, we get to the first level of awakening, we, in my opinion, you get to the first level of awakening, the first bhumi, and you have no choice but to awaken, to move through these stages of enlightenment. Once you get to the first bhumi, it's like, oh, like it's guaranteed that you will achieve enlightenment, right? And that you, in the first bhumi, you just reside in a mental state, in a psychological state, in an energetic state, And then, of course, we talk about Pure Land Buddhism and Amitabha. So you have these pure lands like heavens that you get born into, where you just practice. But those are all just mental formations that are based upon the alleviation of suffering. So in those mental states, suffering has been reduced because what you've done is you've experienced the illusion of ego itself. And that experience of illusion automatically frees you from the fixation of ego, and then it reorients you to the space around the ego that you've been distracted by because you've been fixated on ego and self. And once you see the truth, you can't not see the truth, right? And of course, that's unlike the Matrix. You know, you can definitely see the truth and decide to go back, and go back to sleep, as you saw in the movie. But in this understanding, once you see the illusion of the ego, you're like, oh, okay, oh, that's what that was, right? And you can't go back to the ego because you realize it doesn't exist, right? And then you're propelled on to these levels of enlightenment. I find all this to be very fascinating, apparently. But actually, I want to go back to karma just a bit, and then after that, we're gonna do some practice. So even going back to karma, what I've worked out for myself in my practice around karma is that karma simply means that what I create, I will have to experience the fruition of. Basically, that's my working relationship to karma. What I do, think, or say is energy that I have to experience in some form, right? I don't any of y'all be jotting that down and try to put it into a Dharma book down the road, because I am just still petty enough to sue people for stealing my ideas. So be prepared for a lawsuit. So yeah, so whatever I create, I have to experience, right? So if I'm engaged in virtue, I experience virtue. If I'm engaged in other things, I experience other things, right? It doesn't, nor does karma mean that, like, if I just find myself completely virtuous, then I will only experience good things, because that's not the reality either, because we have to consider the complete span and totality of all the energy that we've created in existence. And existence there's no way that we can even conceptualize existence. Though many have and are trying to, I don't find that investigation to be interesting for me. It's so interesting too, because yeah, I just, it's where I come from. How we arrived here isn't so important, because we know how to get out of it, if that makes sense, right? We have the teachings, we have more than enough teachings in Dharma and resources to get out of the situation. And that's what I'm really focused on. I'm like, I'm just ready. I'm ready to get out of here. I'm ready to take people with me. That's really all. That's my activity right now, is to get as many of us out of this as possible, right? Ooh, again, the Matrix. um, so, and again, karma becomes malleable because, again, yeah, we can develop virtue, and that virtue helps us to experience a deeper spaciousness, and that space is what holds everything that arises, right? So as we experience, as we would say, obstacles, right? Those obstacles eventually can be held within this experience of space. And we allow those obstacles to be held within the experience of space. So, yeah, shit happens, right? A diagnosis, a loss, you know, shit will always happen, but it can happen within the recognition that there's this boundless space to hold everything. And if I can just get with that, then I have the space to respond to everything in a way that reduces suffering instead of reproducing suffering. So we reproduce suffering by just reacting to everything that arises. That reactivity is going to produce more karma, more, to for loss of a better word, negative karma, right, for us to have to experience, you know. Without the space and the response, there can be no wisdom. You know, without space, there can be no compassion. So that spaciousness helps us to develop. I would say the the twin energies of wisdom and compassion that creates the experience of bodhicitta, which is this awakened consciousness, which is really just the attitude that you're only practicing to free beings. That's the bodhicitta. That I am only doing what I'm doing because I want people to be free, to be happy, to be safe. That awakened consciousness is the coming together of wisdom and compassion. It's Voltron coming together and creating an irresistible movement. Um, as Audrey, as Tony Kappenbarr used to say, this is an irresistible movement, you know, of concern and labor, that we get into the concern and labor for beings. Um, all right, so let's do let's do a little bit of practice. We'll see what happens with the practice. Obviously, I don't know what we're gonna do, but still, we're gonna start. Okay, all right. Um, so let's begin. And I really want you just to, like, the beauty of being on this platform is that no one sees you, so you can do whatever you need to do. Like, so, um, I love lying down and listening to teachings. So I invite you to do that. Just get really, I don't often use the word comfortable. Get comfortable. Get comfortable. Make yourself at home. Okay. Looks like we're gonna do something with the earth tonight. We're gonna work on our earth energy like we worked on Monday night in Medicine Buddha. So beginning to turn our attention first to our intentions, our aspirations for practice. Why am I practicing? Why am I here? What do I hope to experience? And knowing that what you're hoping to experience has to be very expansive, you know. If you are able to, I invite you to shift your attention to the breath. If you can't be with the breath tonight, just turn your mind to something that seems more neutral, more grounding for you instead of the breath, which is maybe sound, or maybe something that you're smelling, or maybe the weight of your body, something, or a neutral part of your body. So if you can't be with the breath, shift your attention there. But if you are able to just kind of move into the breath just a little, I just invite you to notice the in breath and the out breath. Allowing the breath to deepen. So taking our time to inhale, taking our time to exhale. And just noticing how the breath begins to just uncover things for us. And as things uncover, thoughts, emotions, narratives, experiences, as we begin to notice them, I invite you to allow this material to rise up into the spaciousness of your mind. And the visualization that I love to do these days is imagining that this material is rising up into the spaciousness of my mind, like, you know, smoke from an incense, from incense, rising up into the space around you. And this rising up and allowing these thoughts, these materials to rise into the space of the mind at the same time becomes an offering to the mother, because the mother is an expression of space itself. So I'm just offering everything, both my joy, my sadness, my fatigue, my hopelessness, my sorrow, my trauma, everything that's coming up, I offer it to the mother. Everything to the mother. Everything to the mother. Or everything as an offering into space and emptiness. And of course, this is the core method of Cha that many of you practice. This is the base practice method of Cha. It's just an offering of phenomena into the emptiness and space of reality. We're offering phenomena back to phenomena. So as I deepen my breath, I am releasing and offering everything that I've been holding on to, everything that's created a lot of obstacles for me. I just offer into the emptiness, which is again the expression of the mother. And so this is a point where you can begin to build your own rituals and your own symbols and imagery and visualizations. You can transform this offering of material, the thoughts, the emotions. You can imagine them as flowers. And you can conceptualize and personify this expression of emptiness into a representation of the mother that seems appropriate for you, be it Tara, or anyone, Kali, Durga, Prajaparamita, whomever. That space becomes a representation of something that we're aligned with, and we're just making an offering of our minds, the materials of our minds, to the feet, to the presence of that deity, that representation. Just spending more time offering, 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 letting go, offering, letting go, giving up. And keep offering. You should always, the practice here is always, you should always be offering. No matter what you're doing in the day, everything can become an offering to the mother. We offer our frustration, our confusion, our experiences of ambiguity, everything we offer into the mother. And offer, I want you to make a point now to just offer the sadness, the sorrow. So this is, again, one of my core grieving practices, right? Is that we see and name the grief. We don't have to know where it comes from. We don't have to know why, but we just see it and we name it. And we let it go and we offer it into the space, into the to the feet of the mother, into the heart of the mother of space, whatever seems resonant with you. But offering. How do we see our grief as an offering to the mother? Just a few more moments, just keep going, and it will add another layer to the practice. So we're going to move a little further into the practice. We'll come back to this offering into emptiness and space, but right now, just want you just to shift your attention to the seats, noticing the weight of the body, the contacts that you're making with the seats. When you're ready, shifting down and beginning to touch into the earth under you. So again, through your intention, you're imagining, okay, your attention touching down into the earth, touching the energetic expression of the earth. And don't think about it. Don't overthink this. Don't try to get an experience out of this. Don't try to feel anything. Just say, oh, I am paying attention to the earth. I am noticing the earth under me. And that can be enough. Even just that acknowledgement in your mind is already instigating a huge shift towards the land and a connection also with the land, right? And the energetic expression of the earth, because the energy, the earth itself has multiple bodies, like we do, that it manifests through. So the physical body of the earth. But what we're touching into now is the energy, the energetic body of the earth. So our energetic body, through attention, is touching into the energetic body of the earth. And as we're connecting to the earth, I invite you to also begin to offer this energy that we struggle with down into the earth as well. So for right now, completely shifting from emptiness to the earth and moving everything down into the earth, or just offering, letting everything shift down into the earth. Again, whatever it may be, the joy, sadness, the sorrow, the fatigue, the grief, letting that shift down into the earth, letting the earth hold it because the earth can hold it. When we offer this energy to the earth, it's just energy, right? It's like a drop of water, being dropped into the vastness of the ocean. That drop of water is our energy, right? The vastness of the ocean is the earth itself, the energy, the energetic expression of the earth. So we're just dropping a little bit of our energy into the vastness of the earth. The earth will hold it, ground it, purify it as well. In this way, we're allowing the earth to care for us instead of trying to dominate or manipulate or misuse the earth. We're just allowing ourselves to energetically come into relationship with the earth. Now, as we're offering into the earth, I want you at the same time to continue offering into emptiness. So noticing this kind of duality that arises, that there seems to be an activity happening at the top, right? And there's activity that's happening at the bottom. I want you to open both of those channels, essentially the seventh top head chakra, and then the root chakra, opening both of these experiences, and then, of course, offering into emptiness, and then continuing to offer into the earth, and doing both at the same time, and really just getting curious about what that experience is like for you. So just a couple more moments here. Okay, so we're gonna slightly shift our practice now. So go ahead and let go of this visualization of offering out, up and down. So letting that go, resting that visualization. And so now I want you to imagine that first, we're going to start with the earth. First, turning our attention back to the earth, that the earth begins to offer to us energetically something that we need, an energy that we need, be it the energy of joy or rest or whatever it may be, right? Asking yourself, okay, what do I need right now? We begin to imagine that the earth, instead of us sending something down into the earth begins to send something, begins to offer energy, beneficial energy into our bodies. And many of you have practiced the earth breathing breath with me before. You can do that, by imagining inhaling into the body from the earth, right? So as we inhale, we're just inhaling from the earth and we're inhaling the energy of the earth that the earth is sharing with us for our wellness and our restoration up into the body. And allowing our bodies to be filled with that energy. So working with that for a few moments. And if you want to and can, I invite you to imagine that as you're breathing in from the earth or accepting that energy from the earth, that you begin to imagine at the same time that the mother, in whatever way you've conceptualized her, begins to offer energy back to you. And that energy is coming to you in the form of white light that's radiating from the presence of the mother into our third eye, right between our eyebrows. Okay, that energy is just radiating right into our third eye, again, filling us up with whatever we need to experience in this moment, while at the same time being filled with this energy of the earth and letting those energies come together in both the body and the mind and allowing ourselves to be held by those energies. So essentially, what we're doing is kind of a spiritual hack I guess we would say, to open us up to the ways in which the phenomenal world is trying to take care of us. So there's energy that we have to start opening up to and deeply embodying. So this is essentially the tantric way to do that. And so we'll slowly begin transitioning from the practice. And so letting go of the visualization and returning your attention back to the seat again. And we do this to ground ourselves, to bring us back into the moment, bring us back into something tangible, solid, and grounding. So coming back to the seats, noticing the weight of the body, noticing gravity holding our bodies to the seats. Coming back just into the space around us. If somehow we left or journeyed somewhere else, coming back to the space. Returning some attention to the breath. Taking a few moments in your practice just to offer gratitude again to the elements of your practice. So to the earth, to the seat, to your body, to the mother, to space, emptiness itself, to your teachers and guides and lineages, to this community. Let's gather together virtually to support one another. And offering gratitude also back to yourself for this profound practice. Okay. Maybe doing some simple movements, stretching, working some of this energy out. All right. Thank you all so much for your practice. And we have about 13 minutes left. But if there are any questions, please go ahead and put those in the ask a question box. If you have anything you want to ask questions about. As we do so, I want to offer my gratitude to this community, to Bhumisparsha. I know some of you have been around from the very, very beginning, which I don't even know what the very beginning was. Maybe you've been around since Thomasville, since the Thomasville retreat, which is I guess it's our first official gathering was in Thomasville 2 years ago. 3 years ago now, I guess. I forget. Time fleets is fleeting. Thank you. And thank you to everyone, older people, newer people, just for this incredible opportunity to allow me to show up completely. I show up in all kinds of venues and places, and many of you have met me in different venues, and some of you know me from Radical Dharma, some of you know me from Love and Rage, some of you know me from a retreat, so forth and so on. But in all these different spaces, I have to show up in different ways, because I have to be sensitive to who's in the space, who's in the room. Not everyone's interested or can hold this kind of practice. So I'm grateful for this Bhumisparsha for being this community that can hold this really new way of practicing, this very experimental practice, which I believe, and as well as Lama Justin, we both believe that this is how early communities were practicing, particularly, in Southeast Asia, these different kind of spiritual movements were emerging, because you had the older movements around the Vedas, and then you had the contemporary movements of Buddhism and all, Jainism and so forth, emerging. I think that, our belief was that, yeah, people were just practicing together, doing very simple sadhana practice like this, using breath, visualizations, really trying to touch into the essence of reality, um, allowing phenomenal reality to form the symbols, the expressions that help people to get free, you know. So anyhow, any questions? Any questions? Anything? Because yeah. So the practice must always be in line. Our view is that the practice must always be in line with the world. Um, what do we need? And then we engage in practice to get what we need in order to continue to work towards liberation, both social and ultimate liberation. Yeah, I think the ultimate aspiration is to ask for what we need the ultimate aspiration is to get free, to be liberated from duality, you know, and to ask for what we need to do that. It doesn't necessarily mean that we get more money or whatever. It means that we get the spiritual wealth, the spiritual materials, the resources in order to initiate that deeper insight into reality. Okay. Well, if there's no questions, um, we'll go ahead and sign off for tonight. You know, so I want to thank everyone, and of course, you can always come back and watch this video as well. So thank you everyone for your practice tonight. I will see you again on Sunday. So Sunday we have our Sunday service, which is Matara, and I may do Matara, I may do Amitabha. So we haven't done that in a long time, and then some meditation, Mudra. Okay. But anyway, Sunday, and then of course we have other programs as well happening. So again, check the website to stay on top of things. Okay. All right, that's it for me. Thank you so much, and please take care of yourself. Please set appropriate boundaries. Because these are the times that we're living in. So let's consume the chaos, or the chaos consumes us. Okay. Well, thank you, everyone. I am signing off. Be well, be liberated. Okay. Thank you, everyone.